Welcome to the HR L&D Podcast Bite-Sized, the show that explores the latest trends and insights impacting people-centric leaders, human resources professionals, and learning and development specialists. With me, your host, Nick Day. These are short snippets from my main podcast show that feature expert guests sharing their knowledge and experiences to help you stay up to date with the latest best practices and strategies impacting the future world of work. Remember, if you need support recruiting talent for your HR business, please do get in touch with myself or any of my wonderful experienced recruitment colleagues at jgarecruitment.com. But for now, sit back, grab your favourite beverage, and let's get started with today's bite-sized episode.
There's a lot of assumption in the world of not just HR, but all management roles, that when someone becomes a manager, it doesn't automatically make them a great manager, right? You learn and develop as you go, but often it's the high performers, moved up the career ladder, they become managers they didn't expect to be without the training or the development program to get there in the first instance. So it's really hard, therefore, to expect them to be able to have that experience straight off the bat, right? So there is that disconnect doesn't surprise me. I think it's a gap in the workforce generally, and absolutely a reason why we need more management training, leadership training, I think, delivered within businesses. I think there's a real shortage across all sectors and professions, not just in the world of HR.
And the beautiful thing about it is that it's an opportunity to make L&D part of the flow of work.
For sure.
Right? If there's already a mandate where quarterly or twice a year or once a year, you have to have this performance review conversation, why not embed manager development into that requirement so that it feels like they're just doing the thing that they have to do as part of a mandate anyway, but in the process of doing that, they're learning about unconscious bias. They're learning about how to motivate employees. They're learning about how to be more coach-like because you're embedding the learning into that process. Like, it's a very stressful conversation for a manager as well as for an individual contributor, but anybody involved in that performance review conversation, it's a stressful conversation. And this is an opportunity where managers are really, really hungry for that learning. If you were to frame manager development as, hey, we'll teach you how to have that goal conversation or that performance review conversation in a way that's not only not painful and awkward, but something that you and your employees might actually enjoy and benefit from and lead to more engagement and happiness at work and greater productivity. Wow, talk about really selling the idea of development back to the business in a way that doesn't feel like extra work. So I think that's a huge opportunity there, and that's a role that L&D people can play. Another big reason is that 71% of organizations have these performance reviews to help employees grow, to actually improve performance. It's not always just to measure performance. There's also a growth component. But only 33% of HR folks say that their programs actually result in employee development or improved performance. Okay. And some people are even calling performance management and rebranding performance management as performance development. Right. And there's two different pieces to performance management. There's the evaluative component. There's the measurement component to say, how good are people doing relative to our expectations? And how do we track that so that we can determine who gets what bonus and who gets promoted? And then there's the developmental piece, which is, how do we actually move that curve? How do we raise the bar so that we're improving people's performance and development over time? And when those two things get conflated, a lot of dumb stuff happens. A lot of politicking happens, and you fail to do either one of those things really well because your measurement gets muddled because everyone's trying to game the system. Yeah. And then development gets skewed because people are less willing to talk about the things they need to get better at in situations where if you admit where you have something that you want to get better at, it might result in fewer promotional opportunities.
I hope you enjoyed today's bite-sized edition of the HR L&D podcast. Remember to subscribe to the show, share it with all of your HR colleagues and friends, and why not also check out some of our previous episodes for more golden nuggets that may just help you along in your own people career journey. For now, I'm Nick Day, and you've been listening to the HR L&D podcast, Bite-Sized.